I have some pretty disturbing stories for you guys to hear. That's why I'm giving a warning for this video. There will be some sexual abuse, child abuse, and other things. So if you want to skip this video, I'm just giving you a heads up now. So with that said, if you guys do enjoy, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and enjoy. In August of 2014, a 58-year-old man from southern Florida sat down on his computer and opened a very special kind of web browser. Using a software known as Tor, the man was not only able to browse what's known as the service net completely anonymously, but it also granted him access to the secret labyrinth substructure, commonly referred to as the dark web. Once cloaked in his digital shroud, the man began the lengthy process of uploading all the necessary files to create his very own website. But unlike many others who sought to exploit the anonymity of the dark web profit from cybercrime or illicit marketplaces, the 58-year-old Floridian had something very different in mind. His website would be named the Playpen, and his goal was to catalog the largest collection of child exploitation material in history. And just a few months later, the Playpen came to the attention of the FBI. As a result of Operation Pacifier, one of the largest global anti-child exploitations effort in law enforcement history, the Bureau claimed that they were aware of the site's existence from the day of its creation, but were unable to act until they accurately tracked the location of the site's servers. And thus, his owner and operator, the discovery came following a tip from Interpol, the international law enforcement entity that facilitates worldwide police cooperation and crime control agents from over in Europe, had themselves received a tip from a member of the public who have claimed to have made a chilling discovery whilst casually surfing the internet. After attempting to directly enter the IP address of another computer, the tipster must have entered a wrong number, because a split second after pressing the computer's enter key, they were faced with a truly harrowing sight. There, in full view of any average Joe's service net user, was a huge collection of child exploitation material, all under the banner of a website called the Playpen. Finally, in February of 2015, FBI agents managed to track the servers to a home in Naples, Florida. And following a decisive drawn raid, the 58-year-old Floridian was identified as Stephen W. Chase. Upon realizing that he faced life in a federal prison, protective custody unit, Stephen promised to fully cooperate with his FBI captors, and when prompted, he gave them full and unfettered access to his devices and hard drives. The FBI spent weeks mining data from the drive, containing the website's backup data, and Stephen Chase's computer was a gold mine of information concerning the identity and whereabouts of his fellow degenerates. But once they were done, the FBI didn't close the Playpen down, as one might expect them to. Instead, they kept it running between February 19th and March 4th of 2015. The sole operators of one of the most active dark web child exploitation forums was none other than the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Unnamed agents did their best to maintain the ruse that Chase was still in charge of the site, striving to mimic his typing style and vocabulary so that the website's users believed it was business as usual. During those 2 weeks, the website's user base was said to have grown by more than 30%, as people from all over the dark web flocked to yet another burgeoning collection of stomach-churning depravity. But all the while, FBI cybercrime specialists employed a malware-based network investigative technique to hack into the computers of those who visited the site, which in turn revealed sensitive personal information that could be used to track and arrest them. By the time they finally closed the website down, and in tandem with the plethora of international policing agencies, the FBI had secured the arrest of almost 1,000 individuals from around the globe. 5 of those arrests led to almost instantaneous convictions for a number of high-ranking site users, putting a huge dent in the trade of child exploitation content worldwide. When the news broke that such a huge number of child abusers had been apprehended as a result of Operation Pacifier, it was met with celebration by the wider general public. However, as more and more details began to emerge, and journalists leaked the fact that the FBI had continued the website's operation following the arrest of its owner, there was widespread public outrage. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, who promote online civil liberties, heavily criticized the FBI for committing the very crime it was charged with. Putting a stop to others claimed that there was no evidence that the FBI not only operated the site, but significantly improved its speed, navigation, and accessibility. The FBI defended this decision, claiming that everything they did was in aid of their overall mission, and reminded critics that the operation had bagged almost 1,000 dangerous individuals, as well as promoting the rescue of hundreds of abused children from all four corners of the globe. However, in one case, their brazen technique meant that one of the very same predators they sought to apprehend got to walk free with no charges whatsoever. The initial search warrant secured by FBI's agents restricted them to gather information from only the Eastern District of Virginia. But little did the agents know, their malware-based data mining application was designed with the sole purpose of indiscriminately siphoning data from every single user who visited the site. That meant when it became evident that this was the case, at least one suspected individual was released without charge, after the search warrant wasn't declared invalid. In this particular case, to some this might seem like an easy mistake. To make a cut corner here, a miscommunication there. Things just naturally go wrong sometimes. But skirting the restrictions of federal warrant is an extremely serious breach of judicial procedure, something a small-town sheriff's deputy knows damn well not to do. Therefore, it really does beg the question, why would an experienced FBI agent do something that would obviously undermine such an important investigation? Assistant Federal Defender Peter Adolph claimed that he had evidence that Playpen distributed 200 videos, 9,000 images, and 13,000 links to elicit images of children, while the FBI oversaw the site. Adolph backed up the bold claims with archived messages from Playpen users, who frequently commented on how well the site was running during the FBI's secretive tenure. In 2019, United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit weighed in on whether the FBI should have operated the Playpen website in its United States versus ANS alone opinion. It argued that operating such a despicable website for 2 weeks amounted to an outrageous government conduct that violated due process. The court also argued in operating the Playpen, the FBI had distributed this material to hundreds of thousands of individuals, and in doing so had absolutely no control over how these images would be used. While the courts said the government's conduct were known outrageous, it refused to dismiss the charges idly. They said the FBI should not have run a child exploitation website for any length of time, but that at the same time, and I'm using their words here, we do not live in an ideal world recognizing that another website would just pop up in 24 hours. The FBI decided to run the website, deciding that the rewards far outweighed any risk. It's entirely true that running the Playpen led to the arrest and conviction as well as the rescue of hundreds of exploited children from around the globe. But the question remains, at what point do the ends stop justifying the means? In the late August of 2015, a spine-chilling rumor began circulating around the internet among the deepest reaches of fringe forums, such as 4chan, as well as certain sections of more mainstream sites such as Reddit, Facebook, and Twitter. A mysterious group of self-declared militiants claimed to have captured several Islamic State's fighters. Not only that, but they announced their intentions to beat, torture, and then murder them all via a dark web live streaming site on a monochrome, hastily constructed website. The group posted a chilling statement of intent. "We are working around the clock. We're operating in a war zone and got more urgent things to worry about. But we will deliver and we will hit the deadline. Expect fun, games, and torture as promised. All interactive and completely free of charge. We will make at least the first hour family-friendly." The statement continued and explicitly warned you before things get violent. But we won't stop. Under any circumstances, torture must become death. Red rooms are a hard business, and few can stomach it. It also means a lot of attention an extra hassle for us. But we promise one thing: we will make them movie stars. The rumors spread like wildfire, and before long, secondary sources of information such as the subreddits, dark web, and R-Tor began counting down the hours until the murderous stream was set to commence. The subscriber numbers of both subreddits ballooned, yet most users weren't there out of any real thirst for blood. They were simply curious. They wanted undeniable, infutable proof that the darkest legends of the deep web were actually true. At its core, the dark web, or deep web, and as it's sometimes referred to, is, in reality, a relatively small collection of websites that are unsearchable and almost untraceable. As you can imagine, this makes the dark web an attractive concept to those interested in illicit marketplaces. But according to some, the anonymity that Tor browsers and onion routers bring has drawn in a very different kind of predator. There are rumors of videotaped gladiatorial fights to the death, or deranged World War II era experiments being replicated for the benefit of paying observers. Others promise to turn a grown adult woman into a so-called living doll, whereby she is encased in a restrictive latex suit before being subject to horrendous methods of physical torture. But of all the pervasive legends spawned by the dark web, the so-called red rooms are perhaps the most disturbing of all legend. Legend has it that somewhere amongst the deepest reaches of the dark web, people are broadcasting live and fully interactive executions of innocent, often hand-picked individuals. But do these red rooms actually exist? It's a tediously common question, said Eileen Ormsby, an Australian journalist who spent years studying the dark web and all of its related phenomena. How can I go deeper in the deep web? Where's the really dark stuff? Well, the answer is pretty simple. That darker side that people talk of, it simply doesn't exist. Eileen is quick to point that out. In some cases, crimes against humanity have indeed been broadcast live on the dark web, but not the kind of associated with red rooms. It's been said that notorious Australian child abuser Peter Scully first broadcast the infamous Daisy's destruction live on the dark web to a select audience of paying customers, and only later uploaded it behind a paywall amounting to $10,000 US. But in terms of actual red rooms existing for the purpose of live executions, Eileen Orm says the idea is ludicrous. The FBI had dealt with dark web cases relating to child exploitation, kidnapping, narcotics, trafficking, and even contract killing. But as Eileen argues, if they are real, why haven't red rooms found their way onto the list? And if red rooms truly are real, how is not a single confirmable screenshot made its way onto the surface web? It's worth noting that around the early 2010s, which is around the same time that the first rumors of red rooms began to circulate the internet, witnessed the meteoric rise of a novel form of short horror stories, named in parody of another popular online trend, known as Creepypasta. It followed a very similar concept. However, instead of whimsical or thought-provoking paragraphs, users copied and pasted shorts from horror stories onto each other's pages and profiles. Instead, the likes of Jeff the Killer, Candle Cove, Smile Dog, and the now notorious Slenderman were being circulated around almost every single forum and social media site on the internet, with the latter being so popular that it spawned several spin-offs, including movie documentaries and video games, in response to the demand for such content. Reddit users created a forum known as No Sleep, with its sole purpose being to collate the ever-mounting number of creepypastas being churned out by amateur writers. But in the collection of short, sometimes ambiguous short horror stories, began to swell a deciding bizarre phenomenon. It began to emerge. One No Sleep subscriber posed an innocent question of, is this story real? The vast majority of respondents gave the perfectly logical answer of probably not. This reads like a fictional story. Other users asserted the contrary, that the story could quite easily be real, but once it had been established that No Sleep was indeed a creative writing forum is interest in what was posted there dropped off dramatically. However, instead of allowing interest to die off organically, the forum's moderators took the incredible step of removing any posts or comments that made any reference to fiction, creative writing, or even the word story itself. One might expect such rampant interference to be poisoned for a place built on free expression, but instead, something incredible happened. The forum's subscribership ballooned to 1 million, then 5, then 10 million, and to date, No Sleep subscriber numbers stand at over 17 million individual users. And contributors alike found they actually appreciated the moderator's efforts to create an online space where the lies and truth were extinguishably blurred. No Sleep is so popular because its users enjoy actively suspending their disbelief. It thrills them to think that such fantastical stories might be true. In fact, many actively wish that they were, just in the same way that those propagate rumors of red rooms, or overtly or covertly thrilled that they might just exist somewhere down in the darkest recesses of the dark web. Interestingly, a British hacker nicknamed Cthulhu had claimed that he came across several different red rooms while going across the dark web, but rather than the macabre spectacle they advertised themselves to be Cthulhu, explained that they were nothing but scams. I decided to take a look at their servers. He said just to see where they were located, but found they had less security than your average company-issued laptop. I thought it was strange that such an illicit network didn't seem to have any major security concerns. So I carried on digging, and shortly afterwards, I determined it was a scam. Users would be charged exorbitant amounts of money to gain access to the Red Room, and once they did, they were greeted by an anonymous-looking countdown clock, which informed them of when the show would be starting. But then when the timer ran out, the page began to load. Then there was nothing, maybe an error message, maybe a blank screen, but certainly not any kind of live execution or snuff film. Remember, the ISIS Red Room we discussed at the beginning of this? Well, exactly the same thing happened. They are the trolls who put the site together, had promised that a variety of grisly punishments would be inflicted on their terrorist captors. But when the feed went live in 21 minutes of nothing, with a suspiciously clean and well-groomed prisoner being force-fed cooked bacon, they promised a snuff film instead. They fed a guy lunch. The site was later replaced by a notice stating it had been seized as part of a joint law enforcement operation. The notice appeared to be made by an amateur. A similar website popped up just days later, but once again it proved to be a complete farce. The lack of solid evidence of red rooms had led some to believe that they are nothing but an urban legend. However, during the summer of 2020, two 17-year-old Italian boys were arrested on suspicion of having paid entry to an online execution room. After 10 months, the investigation by the Carabinieri of Siena, with the cooperation of Prosecutor of Minors of Florence, claimed the website the boys had attempted to access was called the Hell of Horrors and contained thousands of rooms, chat blogs, and shop windows containing every kind of abomination conceivable. The boys were apparently released without charge, but their arrest shows that at least some government agencies were taking the threat of red rooms very seriously. But in all honesty, that should come as no surprise. At this point, the concept of red rooms has existed for more than 100 years. Back in 1894, H.G. Wells released a short story with the same title, one which tells the tale of a haunted bedroom within an old Gothic castle. The term red room was also used to describe an area of a haunted house in the 1977 book, The Amityville Horror, and was used as a term to describe the protagonist's BDSM room in the novel 50 Shades of Grey. Then in 1999, Japanese film director Deku Yamanuki released his seminal horror classic, also named Red Room. This incarnation was much more in line with the contemporary idea of red rooms, and involved prisoners who are forced to pick cards to decide which kind of torture will be inflicted, who will apply it, and who will be the next victim. The chosen tortures start off relatively mild, but gradually escalate into extreme sadism and abuse. As you can see, red rooms are not a new concept. and by the time they became an internet legend, the term had been a byword for places in which acts of evil occur. For more than a century, but perhaps the truly frightening thing about red rooms is that they might actually be real, and it's that we can't seem to discern what actually occurs on the dark web, and what doesn't. Some sections of society have cultivated online spaces that are so far removed from reality that truth of itself became a fluid concept. If we all believe that red rooms exist, then some philosophical standards they do exist, albeit in a rather abstract manner. Red rooms have well and truly entered the collective consciousness, and humanity's very history is a tale of dragging the imaginary into reality. That means it only be a matter of time before someone takes such a frightening but mythical concept and turns it into a terrifying reality. Sifting through my spam folder is always a gamble. It's mostly just garbage, with sometimes alleged email caught in there. I clicked absentmindedly on a strange one from an unfamiliar address, expecting the usual phishing scam, but instead of demanding personal info or ranking access, it was just a weird link. Weird spam, I guess. I went to close the tab by my finger, but it slipped and clicked the link instead. Crap, now what kind of virus did I just unleash on my laptop? But instead of the usual attack warnings, a strange web page loaded that I didn't recognize at all. The layout was bare bones text on a black background with photos of odd little sculptures. It almost looked like an Etsy page or something, with the little statues where bizarre creepy animals, mummies, and skeletal dioramas. Must be some weirdo artist I stumbled onto, I guess. I know I should close out and run a system check for malware, but the oddball site was so strangely fascinating. I scrolled through more images of the dark sculptures. The detail work was eerie, which was kind of cool. I started reading some of the product descriptions, but they were confusing about the rules around purchasing and delivery. What kind of art shop doesn't list normal payment options and location info? The deeper I clicked through the shop pages, the more unsettling it got. There were shadowy hints in the artwork. Now, freaky ritual symbols carved into a deer skull, budget voodoo doll kits with rusty nails, creepy instructions for connecting with demons during a full moon. This had to be some elaborate horror movie prop business, right? Or a really dedicated gothic lifestyle store. But one section was like surveillance equipment and lockpicking tools. That can't be legit for them to sell, can it? The longer I peered through the strange virtual shop windows, the more legal concerns nagged at me. However, that risky intrigue just made me more curious. This had to be some secret black market website. Was I actually browsing an infamous dark web marketplace? Right now I knew mysterious networks existed, where you could find anything for the right Bitcoin price. Drugs, guns, poisons. You can even get freaky stuff like human organs. They whisper about this on the crime documentaries. I never went looking for the infamous dark web on purpose. Though stumbling here by accident was crazy. I shouldn't be on here, right? This could get dangerous, but before I could stop myself into shutting it down and forgetting this ever happened, I noticed artwork commissions, custom animal mummies, and dark sculptures for not too steep of a price in cryptocurrency. Was someone seriously offering to make this freaky stuff to order my reckless curiosity? It was boiling over now. I had to know if this was legit. Who would turn down real customized creepy treasures? I picked out a basic custom deer mummy sculpture, hastily setting up a new crypto wallet as I eagerly finalized my first black market transaction. Part of my brain panicked. Was I really buying something illegal from a possible psycho killer artist off some untraceable dark website? But it was too late now. The site showed an order confirmation screen. My personalized decrepit deer artwork would arrive, a hidden drop point in 4 to 6 weeks. As the adrenaline wore off, I stared, stunned at my laptop, surrounded by empty energy drink cans, in my dim bedroom. Holy crap, I think. I actually just brought something weird off the scary dark web. I stayed up for hours in this subreddits and web forums trying to figure out if my purchase would actually arrive or not. The veteran internet explorers argued constantly about whether that nightmarish website was an elaborate scam or if my package would seriously show up. I hardly slept for weeks, checking statuses and Bitcoin values, sickly excited yet scared, but actually the creepy sculpture I ordered, when the delivery notifications showed up, I snuck out late at night to retrieve a darkly wrapped box from the GPS coordinates they gave me. I tore open the mystery package by flashlight behind my shed. It really was my personalized Dear Mummy artwork, straight from my deranged art. It was simultaneously the coolest and most chilling thing I'd ever bought. I probably displayed my new oddity at my desk, despite concern, looks, from anyone who saw it. I couldn't shut up about my successful black market transaction to my gamer buddies, but none would admit if they would ever venture on a secret dark website. Buying from that first bizarre shop somehow opened my gateways to even more stranger and alarming sections of the hidden internet, through things that almost became an addiction. Now that the dangerous legal line long crossed behind me, my room looks like a creepy, mad scientist lab items. I barely leave except to visit dead drop coordinates, retrieving new uncanny artifacts. I can't talk about my secret fixation, though, or try to access the clandestine auctions around family. Best to keep pretending I'm still their same old son. They'd never understand the hypnotic lure that takes me out of me, daily down in the depths of human darkness and depravity. But I still have enough self-aware left to know I long ago stepped off the path heading anywhere wholesome. If only I could silence that last squeaking voice protesting each payment and dirty money for artistic evil. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to those stories. I decided to share these because human trafficking alone is a very important topic of discussion, and I feel like we need to do more as a society to help solve this issue. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, stay depraved.